All right, welcome to, let's see, it's probably Mr. Right. Welcome to Thursday's finance class, Thursday, April 23rd. Glad you all are here. Um, we are, I downloaded just about an hour ago, you guys that did the commercial viewing stuff, and I looked at a few of them. They look good. A couple people had questions that, well, two people, I think. They don't have TV. So you can always grab some commercials off of social media, be it Facebook or I'm not a Twitter guy, so I don't know if they have commercials on Twitter or not. You can always use that as a just indicate where you got it from, since some of the questions may not really to a commercial that's not on television. Does anybody have any questions on that? If you haven't done that, finish that up today and get it to me. And along those same lines, make sure, if I stress that enough, you put your name on it. Because what happens is when I print these things out and then I either delete them from email or Dropbox, and if there's no name on it, and you don't have a very distinct handwriting that I can put a handwriting with a name, then I'm hosed, and actually you're hosed too. So even go back in previous assignments, if you have a 0 for something you submitted, that could be the case, because I've got a small stack of things here that don't have people's names on them. So just resubmit them, but don't put them in Blackbaud. Put them, just email them to me, or don't put them in black box of Blackbaud. Just email them to me, because it's a logistics and bookkeeping nightmare to go back to a Dropbox from 3 or 4 weeks ago and decipher who I've already graded and downloaded and who I haven't. It's just, you must need a full-time secretary to do all that. So any questions on that or those assignments? All good?
Mr. Gavin,
Yes, sir.
we got to watch it was a commercial, right? And we got to talk about those like 5 things, right?
Well, you had to watch the instructions were something to the effect of watch a 30-minute show, pick 2 commercials. A 30-minute show actually has 20 or 22 minutes of actual show. The rest is all commercials. Supposed to pick 2. I think it might even, I don't know if it specified 30-second commercials. I don't think it did. And there was a series of 5 or 6 questions there for you to kind of analytically pick apart the commercial. And then that was on one side of the page, and on the other side, there was a question about somewhat a large purchase. I think it had to be in excess of $25. And there were some questions there reference that. It's in the Dropbox, and it's titled something to the effect of commercial viewing.
Okay, all right, I see it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Any other housekeeping chores?
Are you gonna be on are you gonna be on Zoom tomorrow because we have to do 2, right?
Just one a week.
One a week? Okay.
2 to 2:30 Monday through Thursday, 9 to 10 on Friday mornings.
I got you.
Any one of those, pick one. Okay. Any other burning issues or questions?
Thanks.
No?
How's your day been?
It's all right. Picked up another class, so I'm working more now than I was. I was supposed to be teaching 4 classes spring quarter. I'm teaching 6 now. So.
That's exciting.
Yep.
Gotta get that bag, sir.
I'd rather have the time. You're gonna you owe me a few things, correct?
Who, me?
James, right?
Oh yeah, I'm getting them done, sir.
All right. Don't wait too long. Okay.
All right.
Here's the plan of attack for today. We've got 2 more presentations. Actually, they're kind of funny and but they're also they have some valuable information on this chapter. One talks about buyer's remorse. You may have heard that before. Usually, you don't have buyer's remorse on little ticket items. It's like a big ticket item. Maybe you've either encountered it or a parent. A typical example is going out and buying a car where you kind of gotten pressured into buying a car quicker and probably more expensive and more elaborate than what you wanted. And you wake up the next morning like, oh, why did I do that? So they're going to talk about buyer's remorse and some things to kind of incorporate into your way of doing business so that you don't have buyer's remorse. Some techniques and tricks to, from being like, if you're going to buy a big ticket item, um, sleep on it for a day or two or a night or two to make sure, yeah, I really want to commit myself to 48 months, or even I saw over the Easter break commercials of financing cars for 84 months, which is 7 years. And then some of them are saying, with all this COVID stuff and people being laid off and not getting full salaries and all that kind of stuff, they'll delay your start of payments for 3 months. So now we're up to, if you just pay the regular payments, it's going to take you 87 months to pay that off. It's almost 7.5 years to pay the car off. 7.5 years, that car is probably going to be pretty worn out and worn down. But and then that's the first video, and then the second one's a power over purchase. All right, so both of them are about 10 minutes each. We'll take a break in between, and then at the end, and I'm going to load on Blackbaud, another exercise somewhat similar to what you just did that I want you to do prior to next Tuesday's class on the impact of daily decisions. And I'll just go ahead and address that now in case we're running out of time at the end of class. And it's going to give you some scenarios like we all have our own kind of vices, and it gives you, like, if you bought a $2 or $3 coffee every day, 5 days a week, what that is going to cost you per week, per month, per year. And if you do it for 30 years, what that would be. And if you took all that money and instead of spending on coffee every day, you actually invested it at 8, 10, or 12%, which you're going to calculate what you would actually have like in a retirement. I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. It'll be loaded up in Blackbaud, and as long as you just drop it in the Dropbox by next Monday night, so I can have a look at it before we have class on Tuesday. All right. Questions?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead.
But you know how like the stock market right now is like pretty bad?
It definitely is.
Would you say it's smart to invest right now because like all the prices are way lower?
Absolutely. If you have money to invest, if you're actually working a job and you've got a paycheck and you want to even put it in an IRA, because the price per share, whether you're talking stocks, which of course you probably learned that Ramsey's not a proponent of individual stocks, but mutual funds. But mutual funds has a price per share also, that they're way, 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 way down. So you're going to get more shares. For example, if the price per share back in January of, XYZ T. Rowe Price mutual fund was $40 a share, and you invested, let's say $50 a share for keep the math simple, you would, for $1,000 investment, you could buy 20 shares. Well, now it's probably about $25 a share. It's almost cut. Well, it's not quite cut in half, but it went from the Dow was up to, or the S&P was up to, it had exceeded 29,000. It dropped all the way down to 18,000, and it's right now around 23 or 24,000. So if you invest that same $1,000 today that you didn't invest back in January, instead of buying 20 shares at $50, you can get 40 shares at $25 a share. So you get twice as many shares, and hopefully it's bottomed out, and you can. You definitely don't want to sell anything right now, because now you're selling at the very low point. You're going to lose money. And think about the other thing about stocks and mutual funds and IRAs. It's going to go up and down. And you can say, well, I've lost $10,000 out of my investments. But yes, indirectly you have, but you really haven't lost it until you actually cash that out, right? It's still there. But if you wait for it to come back up and then cash out on the high side, then you're much better off. Does that make sense? All righty, here we go. Let me just make sure I get the right one up first, and I'll check with you. Let's see, I gotta make sure the sound's on. Anybody know whose Big Jim is? Not even a recognizable name, plus he's late. All right, so we're gonna. All right, is that coming through all right? You can hear the sound and see the picture? Yes? Can you guys hear me?
No, I can't.
Can you hear me talking?
Yeah, I can hear you talking.
All right, so,
Yeah, we can hear it.
okay. Here we go.
A significant purchase, when you get ready to make a significant purchase of over $300, your body goes through physiological changes. If you make a purchase of over $300, your body goes through physiological changes. Now, for some people, it's more than $300. For some people, it's less than $300. But whatever is significant in your world, if you have $10 million, $300 might not be significant, right? But if you got $300, $300 is very significant. And you get ready to buy something like a stereo or an item in an electronic store or a major appliance or a car or something like that. You know, your body goes through changes. You get sweat in the palm of your hand, sweat across your upper lip, a little bit probably across here, depending on what's going on. Your eyes dilate. Your pulse rate changes. Proteins and endorphins are released through your body. Generally speaking, you are having a chemical reaction called excitement. And it fogs your brain. It locks you down. You go, whoa, this is so strong that have you ever bought something when you were under the influence? And by the next morning you wake up and you go, oh, what have I done? Has anybody ever done that but me? Raise your hand. That's called buyer's remorse. When you wake up the next morning and you've got this buying hangover. That's so powerful that when I was selling homes in my early 20s, we were working for a high-end real estate company selling custom homes to rich people. And it's so powerful that we were having a problem. We'd get everything done, get the whole thing designed, get them to sign the contract, get the check, and the next morning a certain percentage of them would come back and try to get out of the deal because they had buyer's remorse. Let me out, I've changed my mind. I can't do this, I'm hyperventilating. And we'd have that going on. And so once we started realizing there was a statistical measure of this stuff, the company came in and trained us salespeople to teach about buyer's remorse. And so we would sign all these people up and we'd say, now listen, here's what's going to go on. Normally, you're kind of excited right now. And normally, a lot of times with people, they wake up in the morning and they go, wow, what have I done? Have I made a mistake? And let me tell you, if you have that feeling, you're perfectly normal. Don't worry about it. Just roll back over and go back to sleep. And you know, it cut our buyer's remorse contract loss almost to nothing. To simply teach people it was going to happen and then normalize it. Now, that's not manipulation, or is it? It's something to think about. It's very, very real. And you know, we all like buying stuff, don't we? How many of you are like me? You're the oldest kid in the family. The oldest kid is the one that broke the parents in. And they broke stuff in on us, didn't they? And people say, put you in time out. I'm kind of like Sinbad used to say. He said, my dad used to take time out of his day to whip me. So, I mean, and the funny thing is you get a bunch of kids, the older kid, the younger ones, they just don't, how many of you are the baby of the family? You know, the baby. See, everything's a party for you people because you just didn't get nearly as many beatings as we did. Because I think by the time the parents get to you, they're tired. And then the second thing is the older kids, even though they want you to get it, they take mercy on you and they tell you the rules. Don't do that one, right? And around our house, when our kids were little, of course, they're grown and everything now, but when our kids were little bitty, we didn't allow them to throw one of those uncontrolled temper fit, spit flying everywhere thing, you know. We'd tan somebody's hide, right? Now, some of you don't like it when I say I'd tan their hide, and you're what's wrong with North America, okay? Because I love my children, and so far none of them has stolen a car. We're doing good, you know? We love those kids. They're great. And if you really wanted to get yourself in a mess with old dad, have one of those temper fits in the grocery store. You know what I'm saying. I remember one time Daniel, our youngest, he kind of was in there. He saw something, he wanted to get that motor started. I want it, want it, want it, want it. He's kind of, it takes him a minute to get to full level, right? And the girls, they saw it coming, and they grabbed him, took him over to the other aisle, and they said, "Don't do that in the grocery store." They teach you, right? I was in the grocery store the other day. I saw this little mom in there with a little toddler, and he was in like a Phase 7 grocery store fit. I mean, spit's flying, the face is red, he's screaming at the top of his lungs, "I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it." He didn't realize how close he was to getting it. That vein on her head was doing that. She's holding him up just a little bit too high, carrying him out of there, And she's saying, "It's not in the budget, it's not in the budget." I was scared to death she was going to say, "Dave Ramsey said we couldn't have it." You know what I discovered? I discovered that I have, and you have, one of those grocery store kids living inside of me. I went over to the electronics store. They had the big screen plasma HD thing up. That kid woke up. "I want a big screen." I heard a loudspeaker announcement. "Big screen fit, aisle 3. I thought it was just me, and then I went to the furniture store, and there's this pretty little 27-year-old wife beside the leather couch. "I want leather couch. It smells good, and you're going to get me one." I thought, wow, and I walked down the aisle, and there was another lady beside a china cabinet going, "I don't care if we don't use our china. I want a cabinet to put it in." And then I went to the car lot. There's this great big old linebacker-looking guy, 350 pounds, standing beside a four-wheel drive truck going, "I'd be a real man if I had a four-wheel drive truck." It never snows in our city, but it might. I might even go off-road just once. Oh, you think it's just the guys? I went over and about 3 aisles over by an SUV. There's a woman standing there. She's like, "I want something safe and new with an airbag that's not your mother." Then I went down to the golf store. If I had a really big birthday, I could hit the ball really far like Tiger. Then I went to the boat show. Old guy standing there with his camo on going, "Those bass are outrunning me. I need a bigger motor." Have I got just about everybody yet? All of us got one of those kids living inside of us, don't we? His name is immaturity. We all have a spoiled, red-faced kid living inside of us, and his name is immaturity. And if that child makes your financial decisions, you will be broke your whole life. Children do what feels good. Adults devise a plan and follow it. Adults have a different layer of fun, a different level of fun. It's mature fun. I'll tell you about that. The other day I bought one of my dream purchases. Been a water skier all my life, competition water ski back in high school and college, and I love water skiing. I've always wanted a major killer competition ski boat. Went and wrote a check and bought a brand new one not long ago. That's living like no one else, so later I can live like no one else. But back when I was broke, I had a ski boat with payments on it. Now, I'm doing math. I'm a math guy. While I'm water skiing, I'm figuring out how much it's costing me a minute to ski. Kind of takes all the fun out of it, doesn't it? So that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is, of course, save up and pay for it. And we have to inject that word into our speech that we reintroduced the other night, that ancient word that is seldom used. The word is no. Try it again. No. Now, does that mean you can never say yes? No. If you say no long enough, you get to say yes. If you say no at the right times, at other times you get to say yes. So it's not about never winning or never enjoying. It's about being a grown-up.
All right. Any thoughts, comments on that? Anything hit close to home?
My internet went out on my computer, so I had to switch over to my phone. Sorry.
Okay. Anything sound familiar or that you've experienced, witnessed? All right. So in this next video, it's kind of a part 2 of this. If you're making notes and following along in your workbook, I think we'll start on page 136. I failed to say, we just finished up page 134 and 5 with that last video. And he's going to talk about needs versus wants, and distinguish between the two, with needs being food, shelter, clothing is probably your 3 or 4 biggest needs, and then wants is everything else after that. You got to have food, shelter, clothing, and probably transportation be another one to throw in there. And then after that, a lot of it is wants, and he's going to distinguish between, like in transportation, can you get around it okay in a 2005 Camry that you bought for, $2,000, or do you need the 2020 Lexus version of the Camry that's going to run you, probably in the 50,000 grand range? They both get you from point A to point B. Of course, if they're both, if the 2005 Camry's running, and he's going to, I think, also talk about ratios. Is it a big deal to buy a $50,000 car? Probably not if you're making $300,000 or $400,000. But if you're making $50,000 a year and you buy a $50,000 car, those ratios don't work out. You're going to get yourself into a real pinch. All right. Any questions before we pop on the next one? Comments? Everybody awake? All right. Here we go. Let's see. Make sure that's good.
Yes, sir. I'm awake.
Give me a second here to someone. Let me see if I can backtrack this thing. Sorry about that. I got to backtrack to my page management. There we go.
So, because you can always spend more than you make, you must develop a power over purchase. A power over purchase. Why is it that I have people come into counseling in our offices or call me on the radio that make $100,000 or $120,000 or $130,000 or $150,000 a year and they're broke? And then I have somebody call me up just a little while later making $45,000 a year and they got money in the 401k, they're out of debt and got an emergency fund. How is that? One developed a power over purchase and had a plan, and the other one is what's known as clueless. And you can not be clueless, or you can be clueless regardless of your income. But income's not your answer. Everything will be okay when I make more. No, it won't. If you don't change your ways, when you make more, you just go get a bigger car payment. Go get a bigger house payment. Lots of Americans celebrate a $300 a month raise with a $400 new car payment. Lots of people do that. And you'll never get ahead until you develop that power over purchase. So let's look at these 5 things. If you do these 5 things when you're buying a major purchase, for most people, again, that's around $300 or more. It may be different in your household, but establish what it is, because Sharon and I have a rule. We've established that number, and if we're ever going over that number, ever under any circumstances, we talk about it first and we go through these 5 steps. The first one is wait overnight. Wait overnight. Why? So you can kind of get over that high. You can kind of calm down, back away from it, cool down. It'll be there tomorrow. Oh no, they've just got one. What is it, a Picasso? You got 16 in the back, shrink wrapped on a pallet. Shut up. And if they don't, you can order it on eBay cheaper than when you get home anyway. Shut up. Wait overnight. Calm down, walk away, go look at some other options. Think about it a little bit. Carefully consider your buying motives is number 2. No amount of stuff is going to equal contentment or fulfillment. And if you're in a blended family situation, a divorced family situation, one guy told me in that, he said, Dave, tell people, please tell people, no amount of spending will get rid of any guilt you've got either. Don't medicate dysfunction with spending. Now, I'm not against stuff. I want you to get some stuff. I just don't want your stuff to get you. So is this a need or is this a want? Let me answer that question for you. It's a want. Needs are food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and utilities. Food. Looks like most of you are doing pretty good. Clothing. No naked people. Transportation. Oh, you want me to walk? I might do some of us good. Walk a little bit. I don't want you to walk 20 miles, but, you know, we have buses to ride. You're kidding. People die. They don't die. They just get on the bus and pay and ride. There's people that do that every day. Do I want you to do that? No. You could go get you a $500 garage sale car and ride back and forth to work, couldn't you? For a little while, and that's you're living like no one else, so later you get to live like no one else. So a nicer car, a nicer house, nicer clothing, a better situation is not a need by definition. It's a want. Is it okay to buy once? Say yes. Yes. But don't call up and tell me I needed a new car. You didn't. You wanted. We were forced to buy a bigger house. They had a gun. The language that we use is pretty amazing, isn't it? And it's reflective of how much rationalization we've done inside of our own hearts. And so we've just got to stop and go, it's a want, I've got the money, I'm buying it, it fits in the budget, shut up. Or it's a want, and right now, we don't have the emergency fund funded and we're fighting debt. Right now, we're not doing a want. Right now, we're going to stick with need. And we'll come back and do the wants later. And I've taught you how to do that over and over and over again. You just kind of have to think through this. See, what happens is I think we get happiness and fun confused. You can buy fun, but you can't buy happiness. It's fun to go on a cruise. I've been on several. They're great. If you hadn't, you ought to. You know, it's fun. It's fun to go on vacation, take your kids to Disney World, isn't it? It's fun. It's fun to go to the beach. It's fun to have a boat. It's fun to go to the movies. It's fun to go out and eat. These are all fun things. It's fun to have some new clothes. It's fun. But they're not happiness. Because I figured out if you eat enough lobster, it tastes like soap. All this stuff has an end to it, doesn't it? It's the old preacher's joke. I never saw a Ryder truck fall on a hearse. You're not going to take it with you anyway. So, you know, look through this. Think about it. It's like Joe, because happiness is different. Happiness is like when I'm tucking my kid in and praying with him. He looks up at me and he's a cool young stud teenager boy, and we've been praying. He says, "Dad, I love you." That's good. It was cute when he was 4. It's cool when he's 15. That's good. That's happiness, isn't it? You don't buy that one.
As a high school student, you probably know the basic differences between needs and wants. Food, a need. A newer cell phone, a want. So you do know. Needs are things you have to have, like food, shelter, and clothing. Wants are luxury items. Sometimes people get confused because food is a need, but going out to eat every meal is a want. If you can become intentional with your needs and wants, you'll end up saving money. And if you're saving money, that means you're taking responsibility for yourself.
When I was 10, I bought an iPod because I thought it would make me the happiest girl in the world. And it did for probably about a week, and then it got old, and I kind of regretted the fact that I spent all my Christmas money on that one gift.
I spend way more than what I actually have, and then I'll have to use my mom's card.
Yes, clothes and shoes.
I think my biggest thing that I buy that does not make me happy is shoes. I hate wearing shoes, but I always buy shoes, and I can't stand wearing them.
I usually think about what I'm gonna buy like 3 or 4 times and weigh out the options.
I spent $6 and bought iMovie for an iPad, and then I realized it didn't do what I wanted it to do.
Shoes, I buy a lot of shoes. I really don't need them. I just buy them because I thought it'd make me happy, but it really don't.
You know, you go to the store and you see that perfect pair of jeans or that perfect sweater, and you say, this will make my eyes sparkle. You get it home, it kind of fades. It loses its luster. It doesn't always seem the way it does from that window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes I'll see things that I really like, and then I'll come home and put it on, and then I don't like it anymore for some reason.
Video games. There's plenty of video games I bought that are just like, I can't believe I spent $65 on this.
Never buy anything you don't understand is number 3. Never buy anything you don't understand, particularly financial products. Don't buy insurance if you can't tell me how it works and why you need it. Don't buy investments if you can't tell me how they work. Now, we're going to cover insurance in the insurance lesson, so you'll understand it. We're going to cover investments in the investment lesson, so you'll understand it. But a key in those, even after I teach you, is don't buy it until you understand it. And if you don't get it when you went through it with me, go through it again and go through it again and talk to somebody, learn from somebody. Don't buy things you don't understand. Well, Dave, I'm very good at that. I research everything. I don't buy anything I don't understand. Right. And that DVD player is at home blinking 12. Can't even set the clock on it. Number 4, consider the opportunity cost on your money. Opportunity cost on your money is when you put money here, by definition, it cannot be here. If I put $4,000, $5,000 in a Roth IRA, by definition, I can't go on a cruise with that money. If I spend the money on a cruise, by definition, I can't put that money in that Roth IRA. So you lose the opportunity of the cruise when you do the Roth. When you do the cruise, you lose the opportunity of the Roth. One of the ways you're going to have a cost associated with having done something with your money. You lose the cost. A really good example of this is a guy I know that teaches investments and sells investments for a living, and I was on a stage with him, and he said, the story he told was this. He said, when I was young, in my 20s, I set a goal to buy myself a brand new Mercedes. I was driving this old junky diesel Rabbit car. I hated it. And I set a goal to buy myself a brand new Mercedes. And he said, Dave, I wanted a 1986 Mercedes. And he said, Dave, the model that I wanted was $40,000, and I set $40,000 aside in a mutual fund, and I promised myself the first year I made over $100,000 selling investments, I was going to take the $40,000 out of my mutual fund and go buy my dream 1986 Mercedes. The story goes like this. He took his $40,000 out because he hit $100,000 that year in his 20s. Sharp guy. Went over to the Mercedes dealer. Young kid gets out of a beat-up diesel Rabbit. They wouldn't even pay any attention to him. The salesman's kind of got his nose up there. He says, so how are you going to pay for this, kid? He said, cash. I just took it out of my mutual fund. The guy says, where can we test drive? He said, Dave, I got in the car, and he said, it was my dream. I could smell that leather, that Mercedes feel, that Mercedes smell. Everything was there. He said, Dave, I looked out the window. I saw that emblem out there, and that emblem was saying, you're a success. And he said, in case I forgot to look out there was one right there on the steering wheel. He said, I drove that car home. He said, they let me take it home. That's called the puppy dog close. RCA did it with televisions in the 50s, and it became popular after that. They'd send the television home for the evening. All the neighborhood would come around and see the television because televisions were rare at that point. And by then, you were so emotionally bought into it, you had to go take money back. You couldn't take the TV back. You're locked in once you test drive emotionally. So they let him take it home. He took it home. His wife says, that's it, honey. You've been wanting this. You've saved for it. It's been your deal. Your neighbors came over and said, man, you are the dog. You are killing it. He said, I made the mistake, though, Dave. I picked up my financial calculator and I put $40,000 in there. And he said, and I put in what mutual funds were averaging at that time. And he said, I couldn't do it. I took the car back. And I left my $40,000 in that mutual fund. And I went, later on earned a little bit of money, and I got me a $6,000 and $8,000 car. And 12 years later, I'm on the stage with him. He's driving a Rolls Royce now. He said, Dave, just for the fun of it, I left that one mutual fund alone. I never added anything to that $40,000. And here I sit 12 years later, and that $40,000 is now over $300,000. And he said, for fun of it, I was riding around the other day in my Rolls Royce, and I pulled up next to this guy in a 1986 Mercedes. He said, it was in prime condition. He said, I rolled down my window, and he said, I don't want to be smart aleck or anything. He said, but what's that car worth? The guy said, man, I just bought it. It's perfect. He said, I think I got a deal on it, but it's about book. He said, I paid $4,000 for it. So in 12 years, $40,000 either became $4,000 or it became $300,000 plus. Now, is it bad to buy you a new Mercedes? No, I'm not against that at all. But you need to think about that decision when you're doing it, because you don't want to drive junk your whole life and not have a good life. I want you to get you a good car, okay? But you got to think about the opportunity cost and think about that story when you're getting ready to plunk money down on something. What else could I do with that money that I might like the results better long term? The last one is seek the counsel of your spouse. For those of you that are single in here, raise your hand, singles. For those of you that are single in here, set yourself up with an accountability partner, someone that will hurt your feelings for your own good and you can bounce big purchases off of. For those of us that are married, seek the counsel of your spouse. If you will listen to the counsel of your spouse, you will check the opportunity cost and think it through with your money. If you will wait overnight and check your motives, if you'll do those 5 steps before you do a major purchase, and you're thinking about this stuff, you will begin to win with money. You'll limit your purchases, you'll make purchases that you're proud of, and you look back 10 years later and go, that was a good idea.
All right. You guys that don't have your cameras on, make sure your camera's on and looking at you so that I know that you're actually there. All right. If you want the full 45 points for class today. And that's part of that security Zoom stuff that they want us to implement. All right. So for to develop a power over your purchases, he gave you 5 things. And that was, particularly on big ticket items, which he classified as probably, and it could vary from person to person, things in excess of $300 to $500 for high school, college students, and maybe $100, or it could be $1,000, depending on your particular situation. But the 5 things are what? Wait overnight. All right. Consider your motives. Do I really need this? Is it a need? Is it a want? What's it satisfy for me in my life? Understand what you're buying. Know what you're buying. All right. If you don't understand it, then you want to get educated on it so that you know what you're buying and you're getting a good value for your dollar. I think this is the important one. Consider the opportunity costs. If I spend $1,000 on whatever it is, maybe the latest, greatest video game machine, that's $1,000 I can't spend on, maybe my books at college next year, or a little better apartment next year at college. So if you spend it, it's no longer available to use for possible other things that may be more necessary, meaning a need for you, than not. And then it says seek wise counsel, meaning, again, that's kind of gets back to number 3 on understanding. Make sure you're knowledgeable about what you're buying. You may want to get either some close friends or family members, ask their opinion. Hey, should I get this? What's the pros? What's the cons? All right. Comments? Any other thoughts, questions?
Can you be my accountability partner in college?
We could try. Where are you going to college?
Christendom.
Okay. Yeah, you can email me anytime.
Mr. Gavin.
Yes, sir.
I remember one time he said, if you can't buy it twice, then don't buy it. I remember that when he was talking about in the video.
If you can't buy it twice, you don't buy it?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, what was that in relation to?
Not like huge stuff like a house or something, but I'm just saying, like, I just
Thanks, Dylan.
Anytime, Whit. Hey, Whit, I missed you last night.
Hey, Whit.
Yeah, bro, I had to jump off early. Was not
Okay.
feeling it.
We got a couple minutes left. Let me go over a couple housekeeping chores. There's about half the class submitted that commercial viewing exercise. It's in the Dropbox from Tuesday. Make sure it's to me by late tonight so that I can grade them first thing in the morning. After that, you're going to lose half the value of it. So,
I thought it was due Thursday.
pardon?
I thought that was due Thursday.
That's today.
Wait, what?
Oh, yeah.
Today is Thursday. Just make sure.
So dumb. Sorry, sir.
Make sure I've got it in the Dropbox by late tonight.
Hey, Nick.
Secondly, I'll put in Blackbaud, it won't be till probably after 3 o'clock today because I've got an Algebra 2 class right after that. You're going to get, I'm going to put in there Let me see if I can get myself back on here a little bit. Bear with me. Where's everybody? I'll put in there an exercise. It's kind of it's along the lines of what you just did with the one from Tuesday, but it's entitled "The Impact of Daily Decisions." I kind of briefly alluded to it earlier in the class. It's a brief worksheet. It shouldn't take you more than 20 minutes to do, and it's this situation. It's kind of like that opportunity cost. If I spend a couple bucks every day on a coffee, and maybe another couple bucks a day on sodas or stuff out of the vending machines, and I do that 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year. What am I spending? And then it has instructions on there once you go to that www.foundationsu.com website, and then it walks you through some calculations. Well, if I had invested an amount each month or every quarter, every year that I was spending on coffee and vending machine things at 8, 10, 12%, after 30 years, what am I going to have? And I think you'll probably be surprised. Now, he's not saying don't buy coffee or snacks out of the vending machine for 30 or 40 years, but if you cut it out, only do it like once or twice a week, which is probably more reasonable or practical or common, you can kind of see the, what those opportunity costs are, and it kind of relates to that guy with the $40,000 Mercedes that in 12 years he had over $30,000 or $300,000 on it. To me that's a little far-fetched, because that he just kind of doing the math. If you kind of remember when we talked about investing earlier on, is that 72 rule. And the 72 rule is whatever percent you're making on the money. So let's just say 12%, because that makes the math easy. That means you divide that 12% into 72. That means your money's going to double every 6 years. So for him to go from $40,000 and 12 years later have $300,000, I just broke it up into 4-year increments. So if he doubled it in 4 years, that'd be 80,000. At 8 years, you'd have 160. And then at 12 years, he would have $320,000. So dividing that 4 into 72, that means he has to be making, what, 36? He had to be making about 18, 19% on his money, which is, it's doable, but that's, you'd have to probably have some insider information or be very good in your investment routine. All right, so with that being said, we're coming up on 10 till the hour. Questions, comments, concerns? All right, so everybody have a good weekend. Give me till after 3 o'clock today. I'll upload that Impact of Daily Decisions exercise. Just make sure you do that and get it to me by Monday evening. I'll put that in black by the deadline on it so that I can look at it before class on Tuesday. Tuesday, we're probably going to wrap up this section, and I'll probably just have you do the online quiz or test, because that's easy for, I think it's easy for you and easy for me. Keeps things good. So if you haven't ever signed up for the digital Ramsey thing, you're going to have to go back to like March 24th or 5th under your announcements in Blackbaud and learn how to create your account. There's a couple of you that never did take that test that was on there, which of course didn't help your average any. Or you may want to check in with me on office hours so that if you need how to get enrolled on the digital side of Ramsey. And I think that's all I got, unless someone has any questions or comments.
Sir, what's our homework?
It's going to be, it's entitled "The Impact of Daily Decisions." And it's just talked about where I gave you some facts and figures on you're spending a couple bucks a day on snack machine, vending machine stuff, and a couple bucks a day on coffee. And if you had taken that and invested it, what you would have in 30 years and what you would also have in 60 years invested at 12%. And I'll load it on the Blackbaud, but I got an Algebra 2 class right after this. So it'll be after 3 o'clock before probably closer to 4 o'clock before I have that on the
Okay, thank you.
Until Monday evening. So there's no rush on the time. All right.
I was Jackson.
All right, sir.
All right, have a good weekend. Stay safe.
You just saying, sir.
All right, love you, sir.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Sir, I have a question. Real
Go
quick.
ahead.
Can I just make sure that you have the homework that I think I did it yesterday. It was like the worksheet you just assigned was the last one about the commercials. I just want to make sure you got that before I go.
Yeah, let me see.
Try not to make stuff late anymore.
Yes. Yeah, I got the one from yesterday.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir. See you later.
All righty. Anybody else? All right, everybody have a good one. We'll see you.